Anyway, Netanyahu rages at Iran after missile strike.
Number one story in the world right now, Israel releasing footage of an airstrike on an Iranian heavy water reactor in Arak, A-R-A-K. The latest attack on Iran's nuclear program, sending massive plumes of smoke into the air.
And smoke seen over southern Israel after Iran carried out a direct strike on a hospital. A series of strikes by Tehran, injuring at least 89 people in and around Tel Aviv.
So let's go right to Mike Tobin. He is live in Israel at the scene of one of those Iranian strikes. Mike?
Exactly, Ainsley. This is Ramat Gan, where the cleanup is underway right now. Ramat Gan is on the east side of Tel Aviv. And as I step out of the shot, I can give you an idea of just how...
This guy is the most powerful guy in Israel. I've said this already. His neck is so fucking strong. He could tank a Shahed drone directly to the head, and it would actually fuck the drone up. Like, the drone would get fucked up. He would be fine, okay? He has the real Iron Dome, okay? He has the Iron Dome, and he has the Iron Neck. I've never seen a neck like this. I swear to fucking God, bro. It's crazy. Every time I see him, I'm like, this is not normal. This is not a normal neck at all. He looks like the guy, like the perfect human designed for surviving car crashes. You say how cops look like thumbs too, to be fair. I mean, this guy probably was a cop, right? I assume at some point this motherfucker was a cop, or at least in the military. There is 0% chance this guy is like... There is 0% chance this guy never did something that's like cop-like, okay? There's 0% chance. Like, this is the type of dude who is so thumb-like, assigned cop at birth, that ACAB, assigned cop at birth, he is so fucking thumb-like that if he walked into a police precinct, they would be like, oh, you're the police chief, right? Thank you for coming, sir. You are the new police chief. Because you just look the part so hard. You have to be. He has the fucking, what's the child of God? The Cuban fighter? Was it Romero? Like, he has the same neck. Like, impossible to fucking submit this man. Yeah, Yoel Romero neck. Like, that is it. Dude, have you guys ever seen... Okay, let me just show you what I'm talking about so you understand. Actually, fuck it. Yoel Romero doesn't even know. Like, Yoel Romero would not even be able to contend with this man's neck. And he can't even move his neck. It's like wired shut.
Powerful the warhead was on that missile as it came through. The damage here stretches over several blocks. You've got a lot of apartment buildings, businesses, retail that are in here. The balconies are destroyed. Windows are broken.
Someone said Yoel Romero is like 25, by the way. No, he's not, brother. He was born in fucking 1977. What do you mean 25?
Looking out for blocks around the impact zone. And one of the things you might see, a lot of the trash is being pushed out of the high rise right now, so you might see some debris coming down. Also, Holon on the south side of Tel Aviv. That's an older residential area. That took a direct hit. And a hospital called Sirocco in the southern part of Israel was hit. When you talk about the dozens of people who were injured, most of those injuries are light. And spoke with a paramedic out here this morning that says the reason you don't have more serious injuries is simply because the Israeli people are listening to those sirens.
The population is highly committed to the security and safety here, and we can see that even from rockets like this one, very little or few casualties because people are turning to the shelters and staying safe when the alarms.
Hey, you got Nick Raid. What's good? You got Nick Raid. Thank you for the raid, brother. Hope you had a good stream. Okay, hope you had a good stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are watching the media finally condemn hospitals being struck. All of a sudden, the media has decided this is unacceptable act of aggression. They've remembered that there are violations of international laws. Yeah. What did you do to Connor? Why is he like this now? I don't know. I don't know, but I've been loving his posting. Guys, I'm done making nuclear weapons not fun anymore. He keeps tweeting about how there's like he's made like 7 nukes or something, and he lost 2.
Sounds.
Following the ballistic missile attack, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took to X and posted, we, meaning Israel, will exact a price from the tyrants in Iran. What did he mean by that? Israeli fighter jets were active over Iran today. They hit a nuclear weapons development facility in the town of Natanz, but also hit an inactive heavy water reactor in the town of Iraq. So still very active scene over Iran, and the Israelis say they have air superiority, so the Israeli fighter jets can...
Yeah, by the way, once again, Israel, and I'm going to repeat this again, Israel has blown up every hospital in Gaza, every single one. They've sieged hospitals. They have violently apprehended doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals, tortured them, kidnapped them. Israel has also struck a hospital in Iran, as I covered earlier, okay? They struck a Farabi hospital in the western Iranian city of Kermanshah, badly damaging its facilities, okay? That was a couple days ago. You didn't probably hear it from the media. You might have heard it here if you were watching me. I talked about it. But in the process of this hospital being struck, Israel also, once again, escalated the attacks and the violence by striking a fucking nuclear facility. Another nuclear facility.
Pretty much pick up.
Which is precisely the reason why now the Iranian leadership is saying they will respond in kind. Because remember, Israel strikes the national broadcaster, and then Iran says, we are going to do cyber warfare on your national broadcaster. Or try to tamper with your broadcasters, and issues an evacuation warning for these Israeli media outlets. They're not capable of hitting the media outlets in the same way that like Israel's capable of doing whatever the fuck it wants with complete protective cover from the United States of America. But basically, even with their diminished or even with their limited capabilities, it is as close to tit for tat as you can get. That's the name of the game. So when Israel strikes a nuclear plant, like Israel struck the oil depot in Tehran, Iran turned around and blew up the oil refinery facility in Haifa. These guys clearly have the capability of retaliating in kind. Even if it's diminished, it's still fairly significant retaliation. Retaliation that Israel has never really experienced in all of its history. So it is odd to me that knowing full well that, Iran has capabilities of retaliation, Israel still continues to increase the intensity and still continues to strike at targets that they know could potentially have retaliatory strikes on targets of their own.
Off targets at will. Guys, back to you.
You know, Mike, we're just talking, what if people have a job? Like if Brian were doing radio, would you be able to do that in one of the bunkers? Because you're interrupted in the middle of your day, and right now it's constant.
Well, you often see guys who will pick up and move to the bunkers in the middle of a live broadcast. And you see that with the local television as well. As far as people working here in this business / residential area, the one thing we see them bringing out, or two things we see them bringing out as they're allowed one at a time back into their offices and apartment buildings, are their briefcases and the CPUs from their personal computers.
So life still goes on.
Mike, you were showing us in the building behind you and talking about specifically the warhead and the damage that it did. We've seen it as
striking a nuclear facility is not only stupid but reckless, but they were lucky there was no radiation. Yeah, which is precisely why, like, now that Israel has struck a nuclear facility, if Iran strikes the Israeli nuclear facility, what the fuck is going to happen? You know what I mean?
As each day goes by, it seems like the Iranians have fired fewer missiles, but are they using stronger warheads? Is that sort of a thing that's happening there?
Well, I think in this stage of the conflict, ever since Operation Rising Lion started, they went into their arsenal and they got things like their Fajr rockets, which are considerably more powerful than the Katyusha rockets that we saw come out of South Lebanon, and dramatically more powerful than the Qassam rockets, which are made in machine shops in the Gaza Strip.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
I think it says everything about Israel and about Iran. Israel is fighting to remove the nuclear and missile threat aimed at our annihilation. We're targeting military sites. We're targeting nuclear sites. We're targeting missile sites. They're targeting a hospital. In this hospital, there are patients who are immobile. They can't even move. Right next to it is a children's ward, a baby's ward, infants. They target it.
Fox News alert now. There you saw it moments ago. The Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting the site of a bombed-out hospital, warning Iran's supreme leader, you cannot continue to exist. Wow. After overnight missile strikes killed innocent civilians and those wounded, or over 80. Our next guest knows all about the Mideast war on terror. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Ken Tobo joins us. He led 6 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan and joins us now. Your reaction to what the Prime Minister just said, Ken, about, you know what, this guy can't continue to exist.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good example of the fact that the Iranians use basically indiscriminate weapons, both missiles, terrorism, and other effects that are generally directed against civilian populations.
I just, considering like Iran and Israel, you know, both I nations, you know, nations that start with the letter I like to close my eyes and think like they're actually talking about Israel for once, you know? Because in the case of Israel, every statement is projection. Every single statement is projection. Israel defenders are always projecting.
Populations and frankly,
Let's
targets
see what the comments are saying.
Western militaries.
The irony would be hilarious if it weren't horrorish. Why is he mad about a missile hitting a hospital? The hypocrisy is unreal. Prayers for innocent civilians in both countries. They were hiding weapons in the hospital. This is Fox News, chat. This is the Fox News comment section. Has he forgotten what he has bombed in Gaza? From what I saw, the Iron Dome was nearby the hospital. Don't we all love propaganda? Shaking my damn head. Can't believe Iran bombed a hospital. Israel would never do that. Sarcastic. Mossad should just not hide in hospitals or use patients as human shields. So Israel can dish it but not take it. Got it. I think at this point, like I was stating, the intensity and the severity of the cruelty that Israel has done and the arrogant ways in which Israel has defended this cruelty in broad daylight has caused even fucking Fox News watchers to go, I don't know. And you kind of see that. You see that with the lack of condemnations. Pre-October 7, if an action like this took place after Israel bombed Iran and Iran bombed Israel in retaliation, this would be a very different dynamic in the media. Every single outlet would be demanding that every single person basically behave like little politicians, do condemnations before they fucking start their day. Okay? Pre-October 7, if this had happened and Israel implemented a first strike in Iran out of fucking nowhere, right? I promise you, and Iran retaliated in kind, there would be daily condemnations demanded of every single person. And now, for the most part, you hear a lot of people in Israel demand statements of support, and they fall on deaf ears, or rather, they are directly condemned. The demands for support are condemned by Americans, by people in the Western world that go, really? Now you're fucking pissed off about a hospital being bombed? It is crazy. You got to laugh at that headline. Iran rockets hurt at least 89 Israelis.
Would not target. And I think what you see with your Israeli approach is a very precise campaign and to try and limit collateral damage, but to have effect on the nuclear program.
So, General, when people say, this is not our fight, America doesn't have a fight with Iran, this is Israel's problem. Do you feel differently?
Brian, kill me. Brian, kill me. Brian, kill myself. Do you feel like there's a do you feel like there's a problem? Do you feel like why can't we defend Israel? Please give me some reasons.
Yeah, I'm from that generation that has watched Iranians fight against U.S. and U.S. interests really since 1979 when they took our embassy. They've bombed embassies, Khobar towers, through Lebanese Hezbollah, one of their terrorist groups that they sponsor and fund. They've executed attacks on Americans really worldwide. And of course, during the Iraq War, they were a significant threat to us on the ground, and through their explosively formed penetrators that they were providing to the Shia militias, were killing Americans in large numbers.
You said, we dropped the bunker busters, they'll do the job in Fordo. The reaction. If you were on the ground in Iraq, in Syria, in Bahrain, our base in Bahrain, or Qatar, where do you think we'd be most vulnerable if they wanted to react? Should it be clear that we dropped the bunker busters on Fordo?
I am quite sure that our military commanders globally are on alert and preparing the capability to defend our troops. I think when you look at the Middle East, the Iranian capability is largely ballistic missiles, short, medium, and long range. And so I am sure that all those bases are worried about their air defenses and paying close attention to the news.
It's amazing. Their axis of resistance has been very quiet because they know the people that have been supplying them are getting their head kicked in. This is a big day, the 73rd anniversary, the birthday of the Green Beret. What is the Green Beret? People like you, how have you contributed to our armed forces?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Come on.
I'm here at the Soroka Hospital in Beersheba.
By the way, this dude has, because he is a IDF spokesperson, he has justified the bombing of many hospitals, for the record, like directly.
Site where a ballistic missile launched this morning from Iran hit directly this hospital. This is exactly the face of this regime.
Fox News, they're saying on Fox News that Trump is considered a tactical nuke on Iran. God help us. Hey, Martha. Heinrich on Iran. An article stated that Trump was considering a tactical nuke, that it was not one of the options that was presented to him. I was just told by a top official here that none of that report is true, that none of the options are off the table. What the fuck?
White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich, fresh from the White House briefing. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Martha. There have been a lot of...
No, they're saying that Trump is denying that any of the options are off the table. Trump caution on Iran strike linked to doubts over bunker buster bomb. Officials say exclusive, the likelihood of a successful U.S. strike on the Iranian nuclear facility buried deep underground at Fordow is a topic of deep contention. Defense officials say, oh my God. It's because there is no guarantee that even bunker busters, the GB-57, will be able to hit Fordow, and that they might have to use numerous missiles, or rather a tactical nuke, which is, of course, just a nuke. The idea that there is a baby nuke or a mini nuke is ridiculous. Also, Cy Hirsch is reporting here. Hirsch, despite Trump's denials, the plan is to bomb Fordow this weekend, so the market isn't too fucked up by Monday open. I have been told that the White House has signed off on an all-out bombing campaign in Iran, but the ultimate target is the centrifuges buried at least 80 meters below the surface at Fordow will, as of this writing, not be struck until the weekend. Delay has come at Trump's insistence because the president wants the shock of the bombing to be diminished as much as possible by the opening of Wall Street trading on Monday. Trump took issue on social media this morning with a Wall Street Journal report that said he had decided on the attack on Iran, writing that he had yet to decide on a path forward. References to tactical nuclear weapons in this otherwise great Guardian story by Hugo Lowell are misleading. The U.S. would drop a strategic B-61-11 nuclear Earth penetrator with a yield of 300 to 400 kilotons. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were 15 and 21. The effectiveness of GB-57s has been a topic of deep contention at the Pentagon since the start of Trump's term, according to two defense officials who were briefed that perhaps only a tactical nuclear weapon could be capable of destroying Fordow because of how deeply it is buried. Trump is not considering using a tactical nuclear weapon on Fordow, and the possibility was not briefed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, in the meetings in the White House Situation Room. Two people familiar with the matter said, But the defense officials who received the briefing were told that using conventional bombs, even as a part of a wider strike package of several GBU-57s, would not penetrate deep enough underground, that it would only do enough damage to collapse tunnels and bury it under rubble. Those in the briefing heard that completely destroying Fordow, which Israeli intelligence estimates go down as far as 90 meters, would require the U.S. to soften the ground with conventional bombs, then ultimately drop a tactical nuclear bomb from a B-2 bomber to wipe out the entire facility, a scenario Trump is not considering. So Donald Trump said that he was not considering this, at least according to the Guardian article, and this is a response to these articles that have come out, Trump responding to those articles saying all options are on the table.
Headlines this afternoon, including one from The Guardian that claimed that the U.S. military has doubts about whether the bunker buster bombs could get the job done, and further claiming that only a tactical nuke maybe could finish it. And it further stated that the president is not considering a tactical nuke, that it was not one of the options that was presented to him. I was just told by a top official here that none of that report is true.
Yeah, they're saying the Guardian reporting is untrue, as in not to say like, oh, we're not even considering nukes. They're saying the Guardian reporting is untrue because we are considering everything, including nukes.
That none of the options are off the table, and the U.S. military is very confident that bunker busters could get the job done.
We're an insane country. We're an insane country. We are literally a stain on the earth, okay? I have repeatedly said over and over again, America is the only fucking nation on the planet that has deployed atom bombs on a civilian population in combat, okay? Whenever people say, this country can't get a nuke, they're too dangerous. North Korea, Libya, and now Iran. I always laugh at this statement because we are the only country that have actually been insane enough to deploy nukes with our endless arrogance and our careless nature for human life. The assumption that no one else will be able to gain this technology to show the rest of the world what kind of violence, immediate violence we are capable of. We did that not as a way to stop Japan. Okay? There was a diplomatic solution on the table. We did that as a way to show our next in line enemies, the USSR and everyone else around the world, what we were capable of, with the assumption that no one else would ever be able to have access to this technology, and that our tech superiority would allow us to be the domineering force on the planet. And look where we are now. No, this is the wrong take. This is incorrect. Are you of the mindset that Japan was never going to surrender unless it was forced to surrender with not one but two atom bombs? Is that the assessment, or are you gonna say, well, the nukes are a much better option than firebombing all of the crowded cities? Is that what you're gonna say? Because those are the two arguments. Or my favorite one is Japan was never actually going to surrender, at least the emperor, right? Except we allowed the emperor to remain. So I guess that was that consideration was no longer an issue after we deployed the atom bombs. We used the bombs because Truman and Brass did not understand what nukes were. Okay, fair. Wait, what? They thought they were bigger bombs? I've never heard this one before, but that's cool. At least it's a unique perspective. As in, like, they were bigger than the actual nukes that were deployed, or they just thought they were just like bombs, but kind of larger. Because I don't know if that's scientists and people closer to the project knew the bombs were new, but no one really knew what nukes were. I thought that they were briefed. Also, that doesn't make sense. Why did they hit the second one 2 days later? They tested them, first and foremost. And secondly, that doesn't make sense. Why'd they hit twice? Was the first one not enough? Anyway, this is crazy. They don't got internet. I mean, they literally didn't. They don't have internet back then.
Done at Fordo. The president is giving
to senior White House court.
Peaceful dove, by the way. Not that this matters. Obviously, the hypocrisy does not fucking matter at all. Yeah, Israel slams Iran while flattening Gaza hospitals. This is from TRT World, Turkish outlet. Of course, they're going to highlight the hypocrisy.
يعد أي شيء من التطبيب بعد أن عاقت قوات مجمع الشفاء الطبي وأقسام.
Didn't Kodak Film know about the nuke testing because it was affecting film production? I mean, I don't know if they knew
Scenes
what was
many
going
in Israel
on,
never thought they would see. Iranian missiles finding holes in Israel's air defenses.
Wow.
Sorry if I missed it, but all flight to Middle Eastern cities have been suspended in the United States. Go on Twitter. People are now hating on LeBron. When he was in Miami Heat, he went and visited Israel. Dude, are you fucking kidding me? Do you think I give a shit about that right now? Like, come on. I'm a LeBron Glazer, but like, do you think that that is the most... The White House just said tactical nukes, which are just nukes, okay? Nukes are an option on the table in a first strike policy against Iran, the Iranian nuclear facility. And you're talking about how people are making fun of La Goat for being La Zionist, okay? I don't give a shit, man. Time and place chatter. That's crazy. And no, don't even come at me and be like, oh, Hasan, you're sheltering LeBron's legacy. It has now officially been tarnished. I don't care right now, okay?
With one hitting the Soroka hospital in southern Beersheba. Iran launched another wave of strikes across Israel after Israeli drones struck targets in central Tehran, including the headquarters of the Iranian Red Crescent Society. Israeli air defenses have been firing from densely populated civilian areas. Since October 7, Israeli forces leveled large parts of Gaza, accusing Hamas of doing just that.
There really are various sensitive installations and headquarters very near to the hospital because Israel places its military headquarters in the midst of civilian neighborhoods and towns, just as Hamas did in Gaza.
In Iran, doctors described Israeli attacks on hospitals as a bloodbath after the Farabi hospital in Kermanshah and the Red Crescent building in Tehran were hit. Iranians say Israel is systematically targeting hospitals the same way it has struck Palestinian medical facilities in Gaza. These are Israeli tanks firing at the Turkish hospital in the Strip. Israeli troops have been seen in medical facilities, including the underground Rambam healthcare campus in Haifa, as well as receiving treatment at the Ishilov hospital in Tel Aviv. It seems innocuous and routine for most countries, but Israel often cites the presence of fighters as a reason for soldiers to target Palestinian hospitals. These are Israeli troops disguised as doctors and patients during a raid inside Ibn Sina hospital in Jenin in the occupied West Bank. In Gaza, hospitals have been besieged, bombed and stormed by Israeli soldiers, and staff and patients have been arrested. Israeli soldiers have also routinely posted footage of themselves destroying medical equipment, such as this ultrasound machine in Gaza's only cancer hospital. And this soldier posted a video of a bulldozer destroying the Turkish hospital. Human rights workers have documented doctors and medics being arrested, tortured, and killed by the Israeli army.
Such pain here in Gaza and such impunity everywhere else. Oh, sorry. Maybe that's it. Sorry.
Israeli military censors, who usually block images of destruction, quickly released videos of this one being attacked. The Prime Minister called people targeting hospitals terror tyrants, and the Defense Minister said the targeting of hospitals and residential buildings is, quote, a war crime. Yet those humanitarian principles apply equally to Israelis, Iranians and Palestinians, and every hospital everywhere has to be protected, regardless of where it is located or who's attacking it. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.
To what extent is this 2-week delay with Iran the result of interventions by the likes of
Oh my God, we are such a fucking joke country. We are such a joke country. We are a country of jokes. We must be joking when we actually cover stuff like this. Sincerely. Like, that's what's so fucked up about it. It might literally be a valid concern for the fucking administration. Like, under any other circumstance, under any other administration, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. What do you mean Tucker Carlson? Like, as though some kind of commentator is going to actually set back a tremendously consequential foreign policy decision. But, like, this is the one time in the one country where that could be a matter of concern. Oh my God. Insane timeline, dude. Insane fucking timeline. Insane country. Everything is so messed up. I don't know what else to say. It's just everything is busted. Everything is broken. We are a stain on this planet.
Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, or the entreaties of European leaders who want a de-escalation?
Look, the president hears all voices across the country, and he makes...
Go live in Iran? Dude, I swear to God, these dumb fucks, bro. It's so funny. It's like, I talk about the insane violence that Israel is doing in Gaza. They're like, go live in Gaza. I can't. Why would I live there right now? Israel is doing a fucking genocide. Then I talk about Israel blowing up Iran and the potential for an American first strike that might even have nuclear weapons deployed for the first time since the last time America did this on a fucking civilian population. And you go, why don't you go live under that? Why don't you go live under the fucking nuclear mushroom? Netanyahu has options to escalate further, which would destroy any talks. With Trump giving breathing room for diplomacy, Netanyahu may play a role he's perfected over years. A spoiler, while Israel can't hit Fordow alone, it has other options for escalation that compliance talks for Iran plus DC. Bibi's U.S. ambassador has spoken a big Thursday, Friday attack. Do you have any information about the dangerous U.S. Israel-Iran situation that the public should know? Watch, too, for Netanyahu's hawkish allies abroad to attempt to, again, increase the chance of a U.S. strike. From AIPAC to longtime regime change proponents, they see this moment as one they cannot allow to slip away and have more experience, savvy, plus institutional heft than Trump. Israeli officials appear to be editing contrast and angle on the images in their airstrikes in Iran and posting them on separate days to appear new. The image below clearly shows overlapping details with modifications only to image and resolution. There appear to be many cases of this. The IDF completed several extensive strikes on military targets in the Iranian regime in western Iran. This was June 17th. And here it is in June 16th. What did the Israeli Air Force accomplish in Iran last night? 20-plus surface-to-air missiles were dismantled before they were launched towards Israel's home front. Approximately 100 targets were struck in Isfahan, central Iran. Around 50 fighter jets and aircraft identified and struck missile storage sites and surface-to-surface missile launchers that were ready for launch towards Israel. I suspect that I suspect that this is yet another attempt to like distort or overemphasize Israel's military capabilities and try to undermine the severity of or the capacity of Iranian retaliation. But considering that the Israeli Home Command turned around and said, we are going to lower the restrictions for Israeli society sheltering in place. And then Iran was able to successfully target numerous sites in broad daylight in Tel Aviv in a way that was impossible to contain, from like the Western media and prying eyes that were literally there and filming it. I suspect that obviously both sides are engaging in propaganda war, information war. This is a normal part of global war nowadays. This is precisely what happened in Ukraine and Russia. That's the reason why we don't have accurate combat casualty reports from either side, right? Information is suppressed deliberately. It's difficult to do so. It's difficult to completely suppress all information coming out, obviously, because we live in the internet age, and governments have yet to figure out the most successful methods of just like completely stopping information from coming out. But in spite of it all, in spite of the overestimation of In spite of the overestimation of Israeli capabilities and the underestimation of Iranian deployment, Iranian like missile striking capabilities, it seems like Iran is still capable of launching missiles that are able to avoid the anti-defense, the anti-missile defense systems, and strike Tel Aviv directly. What is this? Khamenei. Man has a responsibility to understand women's needs and feelings and must not be neglectful towards her emotional state. Wow, the supreme leader is woke. From 2013. NTSB recommendations. This is for Boeing. Hold on. Oh, exiled Crown Prince of Iran is on Fox News. I'm sure he has plenty of great things to say.
The regime. So perhaps if they are not as aggressive as they were before, standing behind this regime, that's a good indication that even they have lost faith about this regime's survival.
Fascinating. Thank you very much.
This is a part of the
Prince.
This is a part of the consent manufacturing initiative. To be like, this is the guy. Everybody wants him. Everybody wants him to be the new leader. Nobody wants him to be the new leader. They see him as a Western puppet. And Iranians do not like Western puppets. Okay? Especially Iranians that don't like the current regime, the current administration. Okay? Iranians that don't like the Islamic Republic still understand how the Islamic Republic rose to power as a direct consequence of this fucking asshole's dad, okay? And how ruthless and how violent that fucking asshole's dad was, and how he was a Western puppet that was placed in a position of power in Iran. So make no mistake, there are plenty of people in Iran who don't want the current administration. There are plenty of people in Iran who want regime change. It's an understandable desire for many Iranians, especially considering that the Islamic Republic is very repressive, okay? Repressive to a degree that is unironic. It factors 0% into my analysis of who's in the right and who's in the wrong with respect to Israel and Iran, of course. That does not matter. It is utterly inconsequential in this conversation. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is specifically to tell you how this regime change conversation that is being entertained in Western media is simply a broader effort to justify a decapitation strike with the hopes of a regime change that won't be an incredibly destabilizing force, but rather will be successful. It won't. There is no world in which Iran will entertain turning into fucking Libya, okay? Iranians, no matter how resentful they might be of the current order of business, are not going to go, thank God you're fucking killing us. Thank God you're blowing up our beautiful cities that have been around, that have been intact for hundreds of years. That is not happening. So the more Israel escalates this violence, the more they are developing resentment towards Israel in Iran, which already existed. And not only that, okay, not only that, but also Khamenei is perhaps the best, most diplomatic person to hold centralized power in Iran. And this is the only reality that has caused the American-backed coalition from escalating further instantly. I covered this yesterday from analysis from a academic that specifically covers Hezbollah. Destabilization in Iran will cause tremendous retaliation to take place in the entire region. Khamenei is a beacon of restraint in comparison to what might unfold. Sure, there is no logistical supply chain of missiles and rockets that you can send to Hezbollah or the Houthis or whatever once the regime is decapitated. But the people are also no longer going to be listening to a force that is demanding restraint, even to a fault at certain points, because of their interest in avoiding further casualties for their own population. Because Khamenei has an obligation as a leader of a state, as a head of a state, he has an obligation to avoid human casualties. Every head of state operates with this boundary, no matter how fucking violent they are. Even Vladimir Putin makes this calculation at times. Okay? It's the reason why he won't use a nuke, for example, because if he uses a nuke, then, you know, his entire country is going to be nuked. It's a mutually assured destruction. Every head of state has this obligation, no matter how violent they are. Israel has this obligation. Israel also has this obligation. The problem with Israel is that they feel a false sense of infallibility, and because of the past 77 years of occupation and violence that they've dished out with very little retaliation in return, Israel has a tendency to miscalculate how strong their defenses actually are. What you are watching right now in these tit-for-tat Iranian strikes that are taking place in Tel Aviv is a byproduct of Israel's miscalculation. The idea that they are invulnerable, the idea that the Iron Dome is the greatest piece of technology that can always protect Israel from any sort of severe repercussions born out of their endless appetite for destruction in the region. It is wrong. This is a miscalculation. Do you understand? It's not wrong when you are dominating the captive population of Gaza, because Gaza's retaliatory attacks, the Palestinian resistance and its retaliation is severely limited, and the Iron Dome can create a decent protective banner, with the exception of October 7. But it is not an invulnerable magic shield that just is perfectly capable of stopping every single ballistic missile from entering the Israeli airspace. It just doesn't work that way. And you are seeing that. Grand Ayatollah Sistani in Iraq has also issued stern warnings that attacking Khamenei would descend the region into chaos, despite the differing perspective of Najaf and Qom have over theology, in my understanding. Yeah, there's Shias all around, too. America thinks about its responses and thinks about all of the events that may unfold in the aftermath of a severe escalation of violence against Iran. Do you think they are incapable of assassinating Khamenei right now? Do you think that Mossad, that has been able to penetrate deep into Iranian society, the same espionage tools that allowed them to literally build a fucking drone facility in the heart of Iran and use those drones against the Iranian air defenses before they did a fucking strike on Iranian soil? That same deep penetration that exists is incapable of knowing where fucking Khamenei is at any given moment and kill him? Why do you think they haven't killed him yet? The reason why they have not killed Khamenei is not because he is an expert at hiding. The reason why they haven't killed Khamenei yet is because they're still entertaining different options, from the least violent option all the way to the most violent option, which would be a nuke, a nuclear first strike. They're entertaining all options, but the reason why they haven't assassinated him yet and instead have basically effectively dismantled top brass of the IRGC, which obviously is not going to be as effective as you think it is because they have contingency plans. This is a literal fucking state. Okay? The reason why they haven't done so is because I think the Israeli assessment and the American assessment here is that what comes next, the day after in a decapitation strike against the Ayatollah could potentially be a much more violent force that is not invested in the same level of restraint that we have seen thus far from Khamenei. Because no matter how the American media covers it, if you actually look at the strike priorities and the weapons used and the intensity of the strikes, Iran has always been infinitely more restrained than Israel. So restrained that maybe it's restrained to a fault. Do you understand? There is no promise that whoever comes into power after Khamenei will be as restrained. But there is the promise that the Iranian people will be galvanized in the aftermath of a decapitation strike that takes out Khamenei. That is a 90 million population, a very proud people that are already very fucking pissed off. So if your goal is to destabilize the country and implement regime change by force, this is perhaps the worst possible way of doing that. Iran has not only been retaliatory and infinitely more restrained than Israel and the US, Iran has not done the escalation. Oh, of course. Dude, you are hallucinating about the Khamenei. He has been fighting with other people's lives for his war for years, and will those countries he's taking advantage of his fucking ideology? What are you? Dude. Just take a deep breath and retype what you're trying to say. I feel like you got so excited to fucking spit out as many takes as you possibly can that you just kind of jumped over your own point a little bit. RGC Commander Mohsen Rezai says Iran has only revealed 30% of its capabilities against Israel. I mean, they do talk a big game, so I would take this with a grain of salt. In an interview with Iranian state media, the senior official made the following points. Iran knew there would be an Israeli attack, but believed it would come after the negotiations, so the timing came as a surprise. In preparation for war, Iran significantly increased its missile production for 3 months. All enriched nuclear material has been transported to secure locations. Iran cannot stop its response to Israel until it assures that it will never attack them again. He also added that Israel intended to plunge Iran into a devastating, chaotic war that would turn the country into a new Syria. Instead, he stated, Israel has now been turned into Syria. Yeah, that hasn't happened. My Iranian friends who hate him would hate even more if the US or Israel takes him out. The anti-regime people want to change the regime themselves and would keep the regime instead of being a puppet again. Yeah. I know this from my own personal experiences and what I know of what took place in Turkey. There is a reason why Turkey is the most anti-American state, despite being a fucking NATO ally and despite being a vassal state, servile to American interests in the region, and plays the wonderful role of servant in the region, which Erdogan does all the time. Look at Syria. Turkish people hate America and they fucking hate Israel. Okay? You look at the polls. It's like 90% disapproval for America, 90% disapproval for Israel. It's crazy. A big part of the reason why they fucking despise America is because of the failed coup that took place that every Turkish person understands was directly implemented by the United States of America. Fethullah Gülen, an American CIA asset that created a parallel state in the country. In the aftermath of that, and I repeat this over and over again, while the split in Turkish society was always 50-50, 51% favoring the Erdogan coalition and 49% favoring the opposition, in the aftermath of that failed coup, Erdogan was able to bring together tremendous popular support. He was seen as the guy who saved Turkey from being, all of this fantasy, all of this back and forth of like regime change, Reza Pahlavi, he's going to be fucking welcomed as a liberator. It's going to happen any moment now. All of that is fucking bullshit. It's just the media telling you why this must happen. And considering how little repercussions members of the media, the professional media class, face for giving wrong information out every step of the way as they bang on the war drums, and this has happened a million times over, as you know, they know there are no repercussions coming for them, so they could just lie like this over and over again. A lot of people either don't know or don't remember, but FETÖ supporters in Turkey helped Erdogan get elected in the first place. Erdogan only started to break away from FETÖ and started stealing his base once his power was consolidated. Yes. Erdogan also has never stopped being a fucking loyal servant to American interests either. Let's continue. Skipping the Tucker Carlson point.
We are following breaking news. The
Here's
White House
the update.
is now...
Trump is going to wait 2 more weeks for diplomacy. Here's my assessment. Wee woo, speculation alert. We don't know how much Israel has in its arsenal of defense. We don't know. That's obviously confidential. But judging by the reports on both Wall Street Journal and everywhere else, it seems like their stock is being depleted at an alarming rate. Okay? And Israel cannot entertain this belligerent use of force, this escalation, without having sufficient defenses. I suspect that Israel, not the small interceptors, by the way. I'm not talking about the Tamir interceptors. Those are whatever, right? Those are not capable of hitting the big ballistic missiles that are doing the actual damage. Based on all of the information that I've read on Israeli stockpiles and judging by all of the analysis we've seen so far, as far as like the anti-missile defense systems oftentimes failing to intercept the actual big ballistic missiles, with a bunch of successful strikes on Tel Aviv and all around the Israeli nation state, including the direct impact sites that we don't get to see on military sites, like in the Negev desert and things like that. I suspect that the Israeli defense capabilities are not designed to withstand unlimited attacks for an extended period of time from a country that is lobbing ballistic missiles. Okay? Washington Post has reported on the stockpiles as well. Will Israel's interceptors outlast Iran's missiles? The answer may shape the war. Israel is firing interceptors fast as it can produce them. That has raised questions within the Israeli security establishment about whether the country will run low on air defenses before Iran uses up its ballistic arsenal, according to 8 current and former officials. Now, what's interesting about this is just the interceptors. They're talking about when they say interception or when they say Iron Dome, that is colloquially a much broader umbrella of defenses. You have American THAAD anti-air defense systems that were sent to Israel after Operation True Promise 1 or 2. I think it was after 2 that they sent those because those had direct impact sites. You have the THAAD system. You have, which is insanely expensive. The THAAD system is both insanely expensive and America can't consistently resupply. Okay? We've seen some of the THAAD systems actually fail as well. You also have Arrow, the Arrow defense systems. Those are for ballistic missiles. Okay. You also have the David Sling system, again, for ballistic missiles. And then you have the Iron Dome. What is actually known as the Iron Dome is an Israeli-American project that is there for short-range missiles and drones, right? So all of these systems that they have to be consistently replenished, okay? Because they don't have an endless supply of these missiles. These missiles are, for example, I think the media, NBC tends to use Iron Dome as a stand-in for Israel's multi-layered missile defense, which is very misleading. I'm interpreting the NBC report as entire multi-layered defense system only intercepting 65% of the missiles, including David Sling, Arrow, and THAAD. Iron Dome itself is pretty shit against ballistic missiles. It's kind of a last-ditch effort, as we saw when they deployed like 20 Iron Dome missiles, and none of them intercepted the ballistic missile in that video that we saw a night ago. Now, that's the main question. My speculation is Israel will run out sometime next week of all the big boys that are necessary for the actual defense, because the ballistic missiles are the big boys. Those are the ones that they have to fucking intercept. The drones are limited in their impact. You can overwhelm, with the drones. And if you don't have any air defenses, then drones can be impactful. But clearly Israel is very good in terms of the Tamir interceptors, which also can run out, for the record. But these systems are unimaginably expensive. And I suspect they have like a 2-week window. And that is precisely the reason why I'm saying that Israel has to either A, if they're not going to allow, if America is not going to interfere, Israel has to go in and blow up all of the launchers. But they have been incapable of doing this. They have not been able to blow up all the launchers. So as long as missiles are still coming in, they can slow down the number of missiles that they need to intercept, but they can't stop it altogether. So if they can't blow up all the launchers and they're still getting hit with missiles, that timeline might extend a little bit, but it's still going to be consequential as it has been for the past couple of days. This is the reason why America has to join. If they want to do a long war of attrition, America has to join so that American bases will become missile sponges. Because every missile that is being deployed in the direction of an American base is a missile that is not being sent to Tel Aviv. Okay? That's what I think is the plan here. And that's why I think they're going to do this perhaps this weekend. This is speculation again. This is complete speculation. I'm telling you right now, there is no way to know that this is what's going to happen. This is, judging by what I have seen thus far, I suspect that their goal ultimately is to bring in the United States of America so that they can at least change some of the strike targets away from Israel, because they won't be able to defend Israel, to American bases in the region, which are ultimately defenseless, by the way. American bases in the region, if they were fucking struck with these kinds of ballistic missiles, would go bye-bye. American bases in the region do not have the same level of anti-aircraft defense systems that Israel has on Israel proper. The American resources in the region are obviously also focusing on, American resources in the region are exhausted as well, and because they're focusing on defending Israel. There are so many bases surrounding Iran that there is no way that they'd be able to successfully defend every single American base. This is part of the reason why they also pulled some of the troops away and the embassies and the family members of embassies away from the region. American bases are protected by the principle that if you strike an American base, you're fucking striking against America. That's the underlying principle that protects these bases more so than anti-aircraft anti-missile defense systems. Okay, they're protected by the fact that there's fucking aircraft carriers in the region, right? But if America decides to strike Iran and enter the conflict, then Iran has to strike against America. Iran has to retaliate against America. Would America ask for help from NATO countries after these hypothetical attacks? No, who's to say that they haven't already? Who's to say that other NATO nations aren't already en route and have been offering surveillance capabilities and refueling capabilities to both Israeli fighter jets and also the Israeli Air Force in general, both in Gaza and in Lebanon and in numerous other places that Israel has chosen to attack? Are you saying you want Iran to attack USA bases? Cap? Okay, shut the fuck up. I'm telling you what I think Iran is going to do. They've already said that they're going to do this. Didn't they strike multiple U.S. bases after Trump assassinated Soleimani, though? Why did that not escalate further? Because the impact was severely limited. That's why. Ironically enough, this is the reason why this is how I think they're going to get Trump to do this. I think people in Trump's ear right now are pointing to how he was so brave and bold for assassinating Qasem Soleimani, which was a severe escalation from the American side, and how limited the Iranian retaliation was in response to the assassination of a high-ranking and very, very famous IRGC leader. I think if I were to be in Trump's ear and I was like this fucking bloodthirsty ultra Zionist, I would tell him, Mr. Trump, this is called peace through strength. This perfectly is within the confines of what you said you wanted to do. You have said time and time again you don't want Iran to have a nuke, and you don't want Iran to be a destabilizing force in the region any longer. This will be perfect for your legacy, and it will be super easy to do. Okay, we have the biggest dicked military on the planet. And look at how the Iranians failed to retaliate in kind when you assassinated Qasem Soleimani. I suspect people in Trump's ear are telling him this. Okay? They're pointing to a time when Trump, in the last administration, did something against Iran that was a severe escalation. And that Iran did not retaliate in response in a way that was so severe that it escalated the conflict. This is why I think I hope this doesn't happen, but my big fear is they hit Fort Au with American weapons. As a mechanism to become to turn the American bases in the region into bullet sponges, basically, and missile sponges, so that beautiful Israel does not get targeted, because beautiful Israel does not have enough anti-air defenses to withstand a war of attrition directly between Iran and Israel. Big, beautiful Israel. So when Trump says 2 more weeks for diplomacy, I don't know if that's the case.
Issued a timeline.
I hope it's true, and I hope it doesn't happen.
For when President Trump will decide whether to take action against Iran. This is Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt just moments ago.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
Now, in the meantime, Iran claims that it's shooting down Israeli drones over Tehran. And moments ago, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to strike all of Iran's nuclear facilities. Let's go to CNN's Clarissa Ward, who is live for us in Israel. Clarissa, does Israel believe that Trump has 2 weeks' time to make a decision?
Well, we haven't yet had, Brianna, any official reaction here in Israel to this news, this 2-week timeline. But I can tell you, based on conversations I've been having previously, that this is not what Israeli officials want to hear. They had been feeling quietly optimistic. They had given timelines of 24 to 48 hours. I think there's a sense from the Israeli perspective that you have to act when you have the momentum, and that slowing things down and allowing for diplomacy, which is very much the favored option for much of the world, but not here in Israel, that carries a cost with it in terms of potentially losing that momentum. The other question, of course, Brianna, becomes how much firepower does Israel have in terms of keeping up the...
I like that she said, it's not an option here in Israel. Diplomacy. Not a favored option here in Israel.
Same level of strikes against Iran, and can they keep that going at the same pace for another 2 weeks? So this will really be an open question now in terms of how Israeli officials interpret it and also how they officially respond to it, because it's been notable that up until this point, they have been very careful about not explicitly advising the U.S. to get involved, about not wanting to be seen as trying to strong-arm President Trump or push him to make one decision or another. The sort of party line, if you like, has been very much to say that they are grateful for all the assistance that the U.S. has given up until now, primarily in a defensive.
She said within 2 weeks, not after 2 weeks. So anything can happen in those 14 days. It could be tomorrow or next day. I think the real reason why it would be closer, it would be sooner rather than later, is because of what I just mentioned. But maybe it's just insane speculation. Okay. I don't know. I like I said, we will speculation alert. The reason why I'm just judging by what I've seen thus far and Israel's defense capabilities. I think, yeah, Friday night after market close it seems consistent with what Trump has done in the past. What you just wait, hold on. This is actually a very funny thing that I've also thought about that I haven't talked about, but where is it? Someone in the chat said, what are the odds that this is simple petty bitch behavior from Trump and he just wants to punish Israel for the initiation of this conflict? That is the funniest outcome, and I don't think that's the case. But I have thought about this as well. What if Trump actually wants to fucking negotiate with Iran eventually, but he's just allowing Israel to experience a little bit of the punishment because he's pissed off because Israel keeps like making him look bad and he hates looking bad. But I don't think that's the case. It's the craziest. I envision a million different scenarios when conducting this kind of analysis. That's one of them. It's a very stupid one, but you know, there is definitely a pettiness associated with American foreign policy, especially under the banner of Trump. Like there was zealotry associated with American foreign policy under Biden, ideological zealotry in terms of like ultra Zionist sentiment that I think factored into their considerations, just like and most likely clouded their judgment. But I can totally see that being one of the. I mean, I envision that being one of the possibilities. I don't think that's the case, but I have also thought about this as well, where it's like Trump is just kind of doing this so that Israel gets a little bit of shut up juice and recognizes their place in this dynamic, by force. And it's almost like a pressure valve that you're releasing because there's so much anger and resentment towards Israel that, a little bit of sowing after so much reaping is
popular here in Israel. But as we have seen so many times with President Trump, this could well be some kind of an obfuscation tactic.
I spammed this yesterday. My professor at Yale grad knows who you are and specializes in nuclear deterrence and is a U.S. grand strategy. No glaze, but watching you healthily dominate classroom discussions. Would you have him on? I'm taking a summer IR class at Yale. I mean, maybe.
It's not clear whether this really means that there is now some room for diplomacy to try to play out and to slow down the dramatic.
Yes, Sky News breaking news. Norway Foreign Ministry says explosion occurred in Tel Aviv at residence of Norwegian ambassador in Israel. I find it very strange because Norway is one of the few fucking countries that's like unironically more anti-Israel than the rest of Western Europe. So that's that's real weird shit. Like that is odd. Let's just say.
Escalation, Brianna, that we have seen over the last week.
Yeah, very good point. Clarissa Ward, thank you so much. Let's go now to CNN's Kristen Holmes, who was in that White House press briefing. Kristen, just tell us about what you are observing here. The president likes to talk, as Clarissa said, about 2 weeks so often. It's hard to really put stock in what he's saying here or what his quote was as delivered by the White House press secretary.
Yeah, that's right, Brianna. But I mean, you have to remember here, we're talking about a very specific thing. In the past, when he's used this 2 weeks, it's been kind of vague, or I can tell you down the road if Putin wants peace in 2 weeks. He is saying here, and this is something we're going to hold him accountable to, I'm making a decision in 2 weeks if we cannot get to the table on some kind of deal here. I mean, that is a very specific time frame. Now, we're actually trying to get more answers on this. Does that mean that he is going to authorize strikes on Iran at the 2 weeks?
Oh, by the way, Tommy Vitor kind of glazing his own fucking initiative here, as he was a NSC staffer for Obabe. But this does deserve rightful praise. During the fight over Iran nuclear deal, opponents clutched their pearls and expressed outrage when you said the choice was diplomacy or war. Well, now there's a war. The JCPOA worked. Diplomacy works. Democrats need to fight for diplomatic solutions to security problems. As I've said before, it is the Obama administration's signature foreign policy accomplishment. So, yeah, you get to gloat a little bit. This is one of the few instances where you get to fucking gloat. Because if you're not going to do this, then they deserve nukes, okay? They deserve to have nukes, not deserve to be nuked, by the way. Make no mistake. Okay? Yeah, January 2016, JCPOA nuclear deal is implemented. This is the number of installed centrifuges in all sites. Actual versus planned. May 2018, Trump withdraws from the deal. And as you noticed, Iran still follows. Iran still follows the provisions of the deal that Trump withdraws from. Notice how they don't do this for an extended period of time. They don't actually mention it here, but Trump implements additional sanctions in spite of Iran following the deal. They were no longer obligated at this point, beyond this point, and they still followed. And then Trump added fucking sanctions. So just remember that. It is alarming that under normal circumstances, mainstream media loves Obabe, Barack Hussein Obabe, and yet they have been noticeably quiet on mentioning this key detail. It's very strange because they fucking hate Trump, right? Like, mainstream media is liberal. Okay? Mainstream media is so liberal, right? They're freaking libtards. They hate Trump. They hate Trump because they ain't Trump. All this shit. So why aren't they bringing this up to be like, hey, there was, I think, an alternative method of dealing with this. And yet it has not been dealt with through diplomacy, even though it was successful in the past. What's that about? All of this could have been avoided if Trump stayed in the JCPOA. If he didn't like parts of the agreement, then renegotiate. Worried that provisions will sunset, negotiate an extension. Art of the deal guy. This problem is 100% Trump's making. There are some people are sending me stuff from Iran. The Israeli Air Force carries out precise operations targeting specific locations in the Loizan area of the Iranian capital, Tehran, where the leaders of the tails, Khamenei, is hiding. Maybe they're doing the decapitation strike now, which would be... I doubt it, but who knows? I don't know. This is the only thing that we've seen. This is the information coming out of Iran is even more limited than Israel. Advisor to the Iranian Foreign Minister, Security Services thwarted a major Israeli plot against Minister Arakshi a few days ago in Tehran. Yeah, one of the byproducts of this has been me getting better and better at saying Khamenei's name as opposed to saying Khamenei. This, Hasan, I told you China and Russia is going to monitor B-2 bomber flights to gather data on how to detect them. That's crazy to fucking use Iran as a... That is insane, okay? That's insane to, use the entire nation of Iran, an incredibly valuable ally to especially China, as simply bait to monitor B-2 bomber activity? That's fucking nuts. I can see that for Russia, but I doubtful that You still mispronounce Bangladesh, idiot. Do I? Did I say it wrong? Oh, Bangladesh. Bangladesh. In Turkey we say Bangladesh. That's part of the reason why. Anyway. Real numbers, though, be what? 10%? No clue, to be honest. They definitely intercepted a decent amount from that large barrage 12 hours ago, but they expanded a lot of interceptors on that defense. Regardless, admitting to 65% even is a bad indicator. For what it's worth, there are experts who've claimed less than 5%. The data isn't really there to tell for sure, but I think it's a total piece of shit. I think the media, NBC, tends to use Iron Dome as a stand-in for Israel's multi-layered defense system, but yeah, Iron Dome itself is pretty shit against ballistic missiles. Kind of a last-ditch effort. Bangladesh? Bangladesh falan demiyoruz amına koyayım. Bangladesh diyoruz. Öyle mi? O zaman ben Türkiye'de de yanlış. I was wrong. Turks don't say Bangladesh. I was wrong. Bangladesh is how Turks say it. So they say it right. I was just a wrong Turk. And the entire time I thought that's just how you said it. My apologies. Oh, yeah, by the way, there's a standoff taking place right now. Dodgers and the Department of Homeland Security are at odds over agents present at stadium grounds amid tensions in Los Angeles over fucking ICE raids. Chaos unfolding all around the planet. What is Donald Trump doing? I don't know. Escalating towards nuclear annihilation. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. Love to experience historic events unfolding in real time in broad daylight with genuinely no democratic pressure valve or no way of like combating even a little bit of it, because the very idea of the democratic process existing is blowing up right in front of our eyes. Something that I have talked about routinely, but it still sucks when you are experiencing it. Definitely not great. Dodgers claim they did not allow ICE to use their parking lot, but I've seen conflicting reports. Bangladesh diye Fatih Altaylı da diyor. Eski hali o olabilir. Ben yaşlıyım. 33 yaşında adamım. Ondan belki. All right. Here's Seymour Hersh, legendary journalist, one of the greatest living investigative reporters of basically every generation. Okay, now Turks used to say Bangladesh, and now they say Bangladesh. So I wasn't wrong. Turks used to mispronounce it. And because I'm 33 years old and an old man, anyway, this is completely irrelevant to the main point of contention here. Let's get to Seymour Hersh's reporting on this. As you guys know, Cy Hersh had a fantastic reporting on the Nord Stream pipeline at a time when the media was just like fully invested in the narrative that the pipeline was actually exploded by Russia itself, which was really fucking stupid, and yet they still tried to go along with this narrative. Cy Hersh, on the other hand, had reporting that the CIA was involved in it, if not directly caused this attack. I still lean on the side of CIA involvement rather than Ukrainians doing this on their own, considering the sophistication necessary and the training necessary to be able to conduct a deep sea explosion such as this one. Like the tools necessary and the expertise necessary to be able to do this and the training necessary to be able to do this, I don't think Ukraine is capable of pulling that off on their own. Anyway, he's come out with more reporting. Of course, before that, he exposed the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, the torture at Abu Ghraib, and he is, a very famous reporter for that. And mainstream resources never actually, they never forgave him for that. Okay. As someone who scuba dives a lot, it's fairly easy to strap explosives to a pipe. Please stop please. The idea that you are going to be able to successfully blow up a fucking pipeline 75 meters underwater in hostile territory without getting caught or without actually blowing yourself up on accident, like, because you have to be able to successfully implement this, and therefore you have to consistently fucking train for this sort of thing. You are not Tom Cruise, man. It's a thick ass pipe that was designed to withstand like natural disasters. Anyway, chatters be like, nah, not me. I'm different. Nah, dude. I'm fucking Tom Cruise, brother. Fuck you mean. I'm fucking Thomas Jebediah Cruz. Is Mission Impossible. More like Mission Possible for me. Armchair Saboteur is crazy. Yeah. Dude, it's just like when I fucking dove to see the coral reef, you know? Same experience necessary. There are probably a collective total of like 100 people on the planet that are capable of doing a sophisticated act of sabotage like this. And there are chatters in my chat, like literally so much pressure, both literally and figuratively, to be able to conduct this without getting caught. And you guys are like, nah, this is just like when I went to fucking Mexico and I saw some turtles on the beach before, scuba diving a little bit. It's crazy. There's like maybe maximum 100 people that can do this. And I guess all 100 of them are in my chat right now. I can handle thick pipe under pressure. This is a report on what is most likely to happen in Iran as early as this weekend, according to Israeli insiders and American officials I've relied upon for decades. Okay? Sai is deeply fucking embedded in Washington, D.C. His reporting is excellent. He has a tremendous track record. So I have no reason to believe that this is not going to happen. Oh, shit. Is this only is paywalled? Fuck. I thought this article was God damn it. Okay. American officials, it will entail heavy American bombing. I've vetted this reporting with a longtime U.S. official in Washington who told me that it will all be under control if Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei departs. Just how that might happen, short of his assassination, is not known. There's been a great deal of talk about American firepower on targets inside Iran, but little practical thinking, as far as I can tell, about how to remove a revered religious leader with enormous following. I reported from afar on the nuclear and foreign policy of Israel for decades. My 1991 book, The Samson Option, told the story in the making of the Israeli nuclear bomb and America's willingness to keep the project secret. The most important unanswered question about the current situation will be the response of the world, including that of Vladimir Putin, the Russian president who has been an ally of Iran's leaders. The United States remains Israel's most important ally, although many here and around the world abhor Israel's continuous murderous war in Gaza. The Trump administration is in full support of Israel's current plan to rid Iran of any trace of a nuclear weapons program while hoping the Ayatollah-led government in Tehran will be overthrown. Okay, we found a way to bypass the paywall. Saad Abedin basically summarizes the Substack post. A major U.S. bombing campaign against Iran is expected to begin as early as this weekend, according to his trusted Israeli and American sources. Approved by the Trump administration, the strikes will focus on key military and nuclear infrastructure, including the fortified Fordow facility, while Iran's most advanced centrifuges are located deep underground. The delay in timing, Hirsch reports, is due to Trump's desire to avoid disrupting U.S. markets when trading opens Monday. The operation goes beyond targeting Iran's nuclear capabilities. It aims to destabilize the country's leadership. U.S. and Israeli planners are counting on the internal unrest to break out, hoping that strikes on military bases, police stations, and administrative centers will incite broader opposition. Hirsch says there are even unconfirmed reports that Ayatollah Khamenei may have left Tehran. While some in Washington favor installing a moderate religious figure to lead the country in a transitional phase, Israeli officials reportedly reject this, pushing instead for full political control through a loyal replacement. These internal disagreements reflect a deeper divide over what post-strike Iran looks like. Intelligence circles are also looking to Iran's ethnic minorities, particularly Azeris with alleged CIA ties, as potential tools to spark wider dissent. Iran has a shit ton of different ethnicities. Azeris, of course, are aligned with, well, not the Iranian Azeris. I wouldn't say that all of them are, but Azerbaijan is aligned with Israel and Turkey. And Israel obviously gave weapons to Azerbaijan in exchange for a pipeline that basically supplies 65% of the entirety of the Israeli energy grid. That pipeline goes through, that pipeline, of course, goes through fucking Khamenei as Azeri. Yeah, but I'm saying that there is discontent amongst different ethnic groups. One of the groups that they could tap could be the Azeri groups. There's also Kurdish factions as well. Is this reporter to be trusted? Yes, this is a summarization of back on Iran. He warns could have similar consequences, potentially fragmenting the country and inflaming the region, all while being driven by Netanyahu's strategic aims and Trump's desire for a major geopolitical win. You have Armenia, I guess, as like a kind of ally to Iran. But Russia has already dropped Armenia, as you guys know. And you have Azerbaijan as an ally to Israel. As far as like regional allegiances goes, and Armenia's capabilities of like defending or aiding Iran are nothing. Armenia dropped Russia first and can't be trusted by Iran at all. Yeah. Israel said they moved their enriched uranium to a secure location. What is this? When Hassan was asked similar questions, DHS disputed this claim for lying for likes. Now we have another person being grilled about their views on Israel by feds at an airport. Why are U.S. border police so concerned about people's views of another country? This is what Trump's new ideological screening looks like. Journalists being detained and deported at the airport because of what they wrote. Then began the first interview. The questions focused almost entirely on my reporting about the Columbia student protests. From 2022 to 2024, I attended Columbia for an MFA program on a student visa. And when the encampment began in April of last year, I began publishing daily missives to my Substack, a blog that virtually no one, except apparently the U.S. government, seemed to read. To Officer Martinez, the pieces were highly concerning. He asked me what I thought about it all, meaning the conflict on campus, as well as the conflict between Israel and Hamas. He asked my opinion on Israel, of Hamas, of the student protesters. He asked if I was friends with any Jews. He asked for my views on a 1 versus 2 state solution. He asked who was at fault, Israel or Palestine. He asked what Israel should do differently. The Department of Homeland Security, which governs the CBP, claims that any allegations that I've been arrested for political beliefs are false. Exact same line of questioning that is directional because of the information that they have prior to the detainment. Okay. Some of the questions that they asked them are different, but it is directly due to your reporting. Interesting. Yeah. It's also interesting that the Department of Homeland Security literally responded in the same way. It claims that any allegations that have been arrested for political beliefs are false. Once again, they're lying for likes. This person that they deported, because I'm an American citizen, that person wasn't. So obviously, that person stating that person was deported. If I wasn't an American citizen, I probably would also be deported.
Week mark if no deal is reached. She would not answer that. I asked the question of, we have heard from you.
There's a huge slop tube war over whether you were lying about that. Lamau, they're so fucking dumb. Brother, are they dumb? Or are we all dumb for even participating or even acknowledging that? Like, there is currently Like, yeah, those guys want to make money. Huh? Dur şimdi alacağım. Şimdi birazdan gelir. 5-10 dakikaya ama saat 3'te yaparsan yerim. Eyvallah. Okay. You need to start permitting them? No, it's fine. Because you and he weren't arrested. They're using a technicality. You were detained, so they're not lying technically. No, I never said I was arrested. I said I was detained. Which they didn't say wasn't the case anyway. They didn't deny that detention took place. They simply denied that it was done on political dissidence. Like, the basis for the detainment was not because of me being a political dissident of this administration, of this regime. That's the only thing that they denied. They don't deny that detention took place. They say that it did. Notice how that's the one thing that they say no to. That's the one thing that they choose to lie about.
U.S. officials and Israeli officials that they believe Iran never wants to make a deal, that they're going to just string us along. How can you ensure that they are not stringing us along when you are now effectively adding time to the table? Remember, this is now the second deadline they've given Iran. The first one was 60 days. Now they're adding an extra 2 weeks. And there's no real answer to that other than the fact that Carolyn Levitt is saying that the president believes that there is, and I want to say, a substantial chance for negotiation. That's what they use. But we still don't have any idea why exactly they mean that. And one of the things she told me is that Iran is incredibly weakened, and that gives them some kind of insight into the potential for a diplomatic deal because Iran has become so weakened. But still, we don't have a lot of answers as to what this means if Iran doesn't come to the table. The other part of this that has been so fascinating is the U.S. Middle Eastern envoy, Steve Witkoff, who we know has been in touch with his Iranian counterparts, has been really leading the talks in this process. He's not attending the talks with European nations on Friday in Switzerland. She did not have an answer for why that was. He has been in touch. We know that the United States has been in touch with Iranians. We still don't know if that's direct or indirect. But why exactly we're not taking part in diplomatic talks between European countries and Iran on Friday, that still also remains to be seen. So we're trying to piece together what it means at the end of a 2-week deadline. And again, as you said, yes, Donald Trump uses this a lot, but this is a very specific thing that he is giving 2 weeks for. And there's still questions as to what if this is what he wants diplomacy, what happens if they don't come to the table? Is he going to extend again? And we simply don't know the answer to that. One thing we do know, though, is that Donald Trump behind the scenes has said that he does not want to enter into a long-term war, into a long-term conflict in the Middle East. So clearly here he is using that going forward and saying he's not doing anything, giving 2 weeks for negotiations.
We have Jeff Zeleny with us, as well as Evelyn Farkas. She's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defense for Russia, Ukraine, and Eurasia. Thanks both for being with us. Jeff, what did you make of these remarks, and specifically that promise of a decision within 2 weeks?
Look, what this is President Trump not necessarily putting the brakes on, but slowing down the conversation that he and his administration are in a rush toward war. He's been hearing a lot of criticism, as we know. Interestingly, Steve Bannon, one of his longtime advisors, came into the White House this morning. Steve Bannon has been leading the charge to get the administration, the president, to
yeah. This is also funny. I thought Iran was a week away from getting nukes. So was Trump giving Iran the time to get nukes or what? Oh my God. It almost feels like that was a bullshit reason for Israel to just do a fucking first. It was almost as though that was a bullshit reason that Israel used to fucking strike Iran, that the American government, with its endless appetite for death, destruction, and destabilization in the region, was happy to abide by. You know, since that is precisely what we said about Iraq as well.
Not launch military strikes. We don't know what role that played, but what this is the president, and you are right, Brenna, I've lost track of the number of times the 2-week mantra.
Israeli strike in Tehran tonight. Area under attack is reportedly blocked by ambulances and IRGC vehicles. Waiting for more details. So this is, that's what they were saying. Like that there's a, this is where Khamenei is, and that Israel might have struck him or something. I don't know. But then they're also saying that he's like not even in Iran. So who knows? Explosions reportedly been heard in 2 NATO embassies so far from Iranian missiles and drones. One yesterday, 200 meters away from Lithuania's embassy in Tel Aviv, and now Norway's embassy. What would happen if one of the Iranian missiles actually end up hitting a NATO embassy? Will that invoke Article 4 or 5? I don't know. Khamenei is in North Korea getting a nuke. Yes. That's what he's doing. He flew to DPRK to get nukes. He's going to come back. He's like, no more fatwa. The Norway embassy, I saw someone earlier saying that it was a grenade or something. I just don't see any reason for anyone in the region to strike the embassy of fucking Norway. It's like the Norwegian embassy is the dumbest one to fucking strike because out of all of the European partners, Norway is literally one of the most anti-Israel ones. Obviously, that doesn't mean much, but it is one of the most critical. It is one of the most critical countries against Israel. So that makes no fucking sense.
Has been used most recently with Vladimir Putin. He will give him 2 weeks. But I think on this matter specifically, clearly the president is trying to buy himself some time here and to see if a diplomacy can work. But what the question is, what does this do for Israel? Because there has been a sense of urgency. There was an urgent need when you heard some of the hawkish voices like Lindsey Graham and others saying now is the time. Other presidents have not had this moment. President Trump clearly does not see this as urgent as some of the hawkish views do, as Israel clearly sees it. So that is the question. Is this going to sort of just go off into the night here, or is this actively something that the president will sort of stay on top of? The bombing is going to continue with or without U.S. involvement here. So now what we will have to see is what Israel does in response to this. But for now, the big picture here is the president buying himself some time.
Exactly. He's buying time, Evelyn. Israel certainly doesn't believe that he has time on this. What do you think?
Well, I think, Brianna, that he does have some time, certainly to make a decision about whether to use military force. But I think that that window probably already closed, because at the end of the day, even if you were to bomb the, deep underground and take out those facilities, the Iranians still would need to come to a negotiating table and agree that they're going to abandon their plans for a nuclear arsenal, and that they would, agree to having verification in place. So you still need diplomacy. And I think at this stage of the game, if we use military might, it makes it harder to get to diplomacy. So I predict that we probably will not use force to take out those facilities, and instead we will use diplomacy. But I think the open question is, as your commentator just said, your correspondent, the Israelis, how long do they plan to fight this fight? Because if the United States doesn't exercise its diplomatic might, and if the Europeans fail, then this war, like the war in the Russia-Ukraine context, will continue. So that is the danger, frankly, that the war will continue and that it could actually spread.
Evelyn, please stay with us. Jeff, a quick question to you. We have less than a minute before we go to break, but to Kristen Holmes' question of Caroline Levitt, how do we know Iran isn't stringing the U.S. along?
We don't. We don't know that at all. I mean, in fact, the president himself has suggested that. He said the time for diplomacy has run its course just a couple days ago. So we do not know that. That is certainly part of the history here. But look, this is something that the president, his whole public life over 10 years has been not engaging in this kind of war. So I'm not sure that we should find this all that surprising. Right. Over the last couple days, there has been sort of a rush, but this is more in keeping in lines of his fairly consistent views.
President Trump.
What? Bunker buster used 10 minutes ago? What are you talking about? Dude's like, I'm in Fordow right now. I'm hearing it. It's a B-2 bomber above my head.
We'll do what's best for America. I trust his judgment. He's a tremendous friend, a tremendous world leader, a tremendous friend of Israel and the Jewish people. And we will do what we have to do, and we are doing it. We are committed to destroying the nuclear threat, the threat of a nuclear annihilation against Israel.
Huge explosion in Tehran. I saw it on Medhers. Tehran is not where the Fordow facility is. Oh, I think you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about the explosion in Tehran. We already covered it. I don't know if that was a bunker buster or just a regular strike from Israeli planes.
We're able to do it, and we, of course, will make our own determination. But I have to say that the partnership with the United States, the partnership with President Trump, with whom I speak to almost every day, is incredible. I think his resolve, his determination, and his clarity when he says Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And for that to take place, Iran cannot enrich uranium. It's as simple as that. He gave them the chance to do it through negotiations. They strung him along. You don't string along Donald Trump. He knows the game. And I think that we're both committed to making sure that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and they won't.
So in your heart of hearts, is the United States going to come on board and help you with these strikes?
That's a decision for the president to make, but I can tell you that they're already helping a lot because they're participating in the protection of the skies over Israel and its cities with THAAD missile batteries that are in Israel, with Aegis ships that are on the shore of Israel, with their pilots that are fighting alongside our pilots to knock out drones. I think it's a remarkable cooperation.
I want to say that a dictator like Khamenei, who leads a country like Iran and has engraved on his flag the annihilation of the state of Israel, this terrible goal of destroying Israel, cannot continue to exist.
World powers also working out their positions on the conflict. We're going to cross now live to Beijing, talk to our correspondent Yenna Lee, who joins us from there. Yenna, what's China's official position, first of all, then? I mean, have we heard anything from President Xi Jinping?
Well, we have now, Stuart, in his first official remarks since the start of this conflict, President Xi...
Guys, any day now. Any day now. Big condemnation. This one is going to be the biggest, okay? Like, what a giant condemnation this one is. This one's going to hurt. This condemnation, oof. Wow. Yeah, weapons grade enriched condemnation. Oh, this is going to be a sternly worded letter. Okay, you feel me? The sternest.
Xi Jinping reportedly told state news agency Xinhua that China opposes acts that infringes on the territorial integrity of other countries and added that all parties should promote de-escalation, whilst also putting forward his willingness to play a constructive role in this. A spokesperson, meanwhile, here at the Foreign Ministry in Beijing also made a thinly veiled critique to the United States, saying, I quote, the country with special influence on Israel in particular needs to maintain.
Sorry, China isn't bloodthirsty demons like the U.S. is. Brother, what are you talking about? China needs to defend Iran. That's it. They need to defend Iran for their own interests. They need to defend Iran for their own sovereignty. Why the fuck is America attacking Iran? They're attacking Iran not for just like... not because like they were like, oh, we just don't like Khamenei. They're attacking Iran because ultimately they want to destabilize Iran, which is a major regional player, so they can have the entire fucking energy production capacity of the world under their control, with some exceptions. But pretty much the entirety of the energy production will be free of any sort of Iranian intervention. I'm not even making an argument that like China needs to enter the conflict for moral reasons. Like, oh yeah, like my expectation is not that the Chinese state is going to do anything moral. Okay, they're not. They are only interested in China, and that's it.